Procedure turns on spray runs. We start on the downwind side of the paddock initially. The aircraft tracks in and lines up on the two markers, has his wings level by 100 feet and lets down onto the first marker. First marker will walk off, and you'll need to pick a point on the horizon up the other end of the paddock to keep the aircraft straight down the spray run. We'll run along, the next marker will walk off about halfway down the paddock. As we cross over the boundary fence, we climb straight ahead to 100 feet and then initiate a 45-degree turn downwind from the spray run, rolling the aircraft back in the reverse direction and applying flap at this stage. Keep the aircraft climbing until we reach approximately 200 feet at the apex of the turn. Pick a point on the extended centre line of the next spray run to initially turn your aircraft to. It'll just save craning your neck. As we go over that point, we should be able to look up and see the two markers for the next spray run. Continue the turn and line the two markers up. At 100 feet, we should have our wings level and start a gentle descent into the paddock. This marker will walk to his next mark, and we will pick a point on the horizon up the other end of the paddock to keep the aircraft straight along the spray run. We will then just continue in the same manner all the way across the paddock until we have completed the paddock. The next thing we're going to look at is the racetrack procedure turn for tracking across the paddock. We initially start on the downwind boundary fence using our markers or whatever markers we have, fly along, pull up straight ahead to 100 feet and then initiate a turn into wind, climbing to 200 feet using flap, picking a point in the centre of the paddock to turn, remove the flap, wings level at 100 feet, dive down into the paddock in a gentle dive, spray run along the paddock, and the same happens this end. We pull up to 100 feet, flap on 200 feet, turn, back down, flap removed and 100 feet wings level, and we just continue across the paddock in this fashion until we complete the field in this manner. The other turn that we may need to use is what we call the reverse procedure turn, and this is used only on if we were flying up and downwind and on the downwind end. We continue our spray run out and climb straight away to 150 feet, apply flap and do a complete turn out of wind all the way back, so as we fly back over our extended centre line of the last spray run, line up on the markers, wings level at 100 feet and continue our spray run in the opposite direction. And at the into wind end of the paddock, we would then just do a normal procedure turn. Tracking on markers and procedure turns. We line up on the first marker, come into the paddock and the marker will move on to his next swath width. I've lined up on him, the marker up the other end and also a tree out on the horizon. Halfway up the paddock, the next marker moves across. We fly past the marker. As we do, we check for an extended centre line of our next run, climbing straight ahead to 100 feet and initiate our turn. The extended centre line is the big tractor and we turn towards that. Then we line up on the marker. As the wings become level, the marker moves off. We descend into the paddock, check a marker out on the horizon up the other end of the paddock. Halfway up the paddock, the next marker moves along and we continue using the extended centre line again, back down onto the marker. And we just keep working across the paddock on the markers in this fashion. Low flying at spray height. First thing we're going to do is just run the aircraft along a flat surface and allow the aircraft wheels to touch the ground, just so as you can see the attitude with the wheels touching the ground. Coming down to spray height, There we are at spray height, and we're just going to keep letting down till a wheel touches. So now pull up, do some spray runs on a field and some procedure turns. The point we're using on the ground will be 2 markers, one at either end of the field. And as to the top dressing run, we pick a point out on the horizon and keep straight on. We are now at spraying height. We have the marker at the far end and a little tin shed just below the horizon. For a procedure turn, we climb away to 100 feet, initiate a 45-degree turn downwind. As we roll back, we apply one stage of flap to tighten the turn and lower the stall speed. As I said in the previous procedure turns, use a turning point, extended centre line of your next spray run to turn to. We have the 2 markers in sight. Top of the tree out on the horizon I'm using for a 3rd marker. The extended centre line to the next run will be the little hill just past the run. Pull up, 100 feet, 45 degrees downwind, flap on, roll back in the opposite direction, and hold the constant angle of bank. The mark comes up the little hill, your extended centre line, and then we can see the markers. Allow the nose to start dropping at this point, rolling the wings level and descending from 100 feet. Same procedure to this end. This time I'm using a patch of water as my extended centre line. Run will soon be able to use the fence line. If I have an engine failure on the approach to the run, dump the load, side slip, full flap and go in as quick as possible over the obstacles and land in the paddock that we're going to spray. Engine failure in a procedure turn. Wings level, dump the load, maintain our airspeed, and we virtually go in, turning just enough to miss any obstacles that are in our road. As we can see by doing that, we've overshot the marks that we were using, so we'll just go around and line up on the markers again. See our two markers and the third mark is a fence line. I have an engine failure on the spray run. Climb up, have a look, dump the load and go straight in on the paddock. Full flap, switches off. If we were unlucky to have an engine failure just at our pull-up, lower the nose, dump the load and land straight ahead.
And the same procedures viewed from the ground, including an emergency dump. Now the aircraft flying at spray height and a procedure turn.
As we move across the spray run towards the end of the paddock, we have obstacles we need to make a shallow ascent above them. We'll use the tree on the left-hand boundary as our reference point to start pulling up. We pull up over the obstacles in a gentle pull-up and don't commence our procedure turn till we've gone over the obstacles. We roll out of our turn, enter a shallow dive, come down over our obstacles, steepen our rate of descent so as we end up rounding out on our spray run at our original reference point we used for the pull-up. Flying over obstacles in the field. As we come in and approach a single obstacle, gentle pull up so as the obstacle is visible longer, the aircraft flies over the obstacle and down the other side, coming back on the spray run at the same distance as we started our pull up. If, on the other hand, we allow the aircraft to approach the obstacle too closely, we'll find we have to do a very steep pull up. Rating of airspeed, putting a lot of chemical in one place, the aircraft tends to climb too high. We have far too sharper angle of descent on the other side. The point we're trying to make here is that we want a nice gentle pull up over the obstacle, level at the top of the obstacle and a gentle let down the other side. And make the distance from where we start to pull up to the top of the obstacle the same as the distance from when we start to let down from the top of the obstacle until we come back onto our spray run. The flight between obstacles, if we have two obstacles we have to fly between, pick a point fair in the centre of the two obstacles and fly to that point. Don't look at the obstacles on either side. If we've got laid off drift, we hold that and just fly straight between the obstacles to the centre point and look straight ahead to another point out in the distance. Flying between obstacles. First determine that you can actually fit between the obstacles. If they are two trees, check that there's no overlying dead branches. If you're not sure that you can fit between them, then just go over them. Once you are sure, pick a centre point, fly straight at the centre point, don't look either side at the obstacles and just continue on your spray run. Flight adjacent to obstacles. If we have to fly adjacent to obstacles, pick some natural markers far enough out from the obstacle here that the aircraft will be a safe distance from them. Pick these markers and fly straight along those markers without looking at the obstacle, otherwise we'll tend to drift in, and just continue the flight path straight through. If we have drift laid off due to wind blowing over the obstacle, we will have to remove the laid off drift as we go past. As we get past the obstacle, we'll have to lay the drift on again, and then, as you can see here, another obstacle, we've had to remove the laid off drift and then lay the drift back on as we come back into wind again. The same rules apply here. Pick your marks at a safe distance out. Don't look at the obstacle, look straight ahead along the spray run and just keep going straight along the run. Flying adjacent to obstacles. The first thing is determine the distance out from the obstacle you require and pick a point so as the centre line of the aircraft will follow that point. Any laid off drift that you have will have to be removed as you come alongside the obstacle. If it's downwind, you'll find there'll be mechanical turbulence. Just keep your eye straight ahead, don't look at the obstacles. When you get past the obstacles, you'll have to put on the drift again and we'll just climb away. Flying around obstacles. Here we're laying off drift to maintain our spray run, and we have an obstacle right in the middle of our spray run we need to go round. What we do is double the drift that we had laid off, and this will allow the aircraft to track into wind. As we become adjacent to our obstacle, we relax the drift, and the aircraft will then drift back onto our spray run past the obstacle, and then we will lay off drift to continue on our spray run. On the other hand, if we want to go downwind around the obstacle, the drift that we had laid off to track along our spray run, we relax, fly parallel to the spray run, the aircraft will drift off. As we become adjacent to the obstacle once again, we double the drift we originally had. This will allow us to track back in onto the spray run, and then we will lay off half that drift so as we track straight along our spray run. As we come down on the spray run, at a reasonable distance out from the obstacle, turn the aircraft into wind. The aircraft will track away from the obstacle. Remember, don't look at it. As we approach the obstacle, allow the aircraft to fly parallel to it, and then relax all the drift. The aircraft will be able to drift back onto the spray run and just continue on. We're now just having a quick look at a racetrack pattern as we previously discussed on the whiteboard. As you can see, we've started on the fence line. Pulling up and letting down over obstacles. Here we're approaching a set of trees, and we're going to let down over. Make a shallower approach to the top of the obstacles and just continue a shallow approach, picking a point outside where we would commence our spray run. Here we're using a dam out on our left-hand side. Remember to make a shallow approach to the obstacles, otherwise we may find that the aircraft, due to its high inertia, would just mush into the ground on a descent over them, or mush into the obstacles on a pull-up. If by an error of judgment we leave it too late, we're going to end up with a very steep angle of climb. We would need to use full power. And hold the wings level until we get well clear of the obstacle. Here we're also seeing that we're flying at a constant height over changing contours in the ground. Okay, we're approaching the point at where we let down. We would start to pull up at the same point, wings level till the top of the obstacles, and then commence our procedure turn from there on. Approaching a nice shallow angle, levelling out at the same point once again. nice gentle pull up over our obstacle, commence our procedure turn. Once again, we'll have a look at pulling up and letting down over the obstacle in the paddock. Coming in at spray height. Start a gentle pull up, check it so as we fly over the obstacle level, and a gentle push down on the other side, back to spray height at the same distance as what we pulled up. Now if, however, we have one single obstacle in the paddock, it is usually far better and much easier, because we can see it, to just gently change the direction of the aircraft and fly around the side of the obstacle. Remember, don't actually look at your obstacle. Just pick your reference points and fly to them. So coming down, what I'm going to do now is actually rudder the aeroplane into wind, going past the obstacle, and then let the wind rip me back onto my spray run. I'll do another run past that obstacle. This time I'll allow the aircraft to drift downwind and then rudder back in towards the wind. Obstacle being the tree straight ahead, coming down onto our spray run now, allowing the aircraft to drift downwind, straight past the obstacle, a nice rudder turn, keeping the wings level, and back onto our spray run. Flight between obstacles in the spray paddock. First assess if there is enough room to fit the aircraft through. Once we've assessed it, we pick a centre point, we don't look at the obstacles, and we just fly straight through. Skidding around a tree, coming up to the tree now, turning away from it, parallel as we go past, and skidding back.